Greetings, dear friends. Welcome to this live stream for Empty Cloud, New Jersey. I'm sorry for the delay. There was a glitch streaming service. Um, I'm actually. I'd like to begin by paying homage to our teacher, the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Nupada parinibbanatam bhagavati brahmacharitam musati. The short chant that I just done is from Majjhima 43, the Relay Chariot Sutta. Sariputta is speaking to another monk called Punna, who's very honoured and renowned amongst the Sangha, being a truly excellent monk. And Sariputta, in the course of this conversation, is explaining to Punna what is the crux, what is the actuality, what is the essence of the holy life, what are we practicing for? And the Buddha says this, Anupada parinibbana tang bhagavati brahmacharyam musati iti. Or rather, Sariputta says this to Punna, and what he's saying is that the holy life is lived for just this, for the sake of letting go of upadana. It is nibbana without clinging. It's the purpose of the holy life. Nibbana without grasping. Nibbana is that which is without grasping, without clinging. So, friends, today I'd like to explore a little bit this topic of clinging, upadana. Clinging or grasping is the aspect of our predicament where the mind inclines towards reaching out, leaning towards, wanting, desiring. There is in dependent origination, 12 steps of dependent origination, causes of all things. Uh, we can learn in this teaching that the cause of all things is ignorance. But as a result of ignorance, we've come into being and we have these bodies and minds, we have these six senses, and we're constantly receiving through hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. And what's happening when there's contact, these experiences are happening for us, we feel. Through feeling, we incline towards or away from our experience. Craving arises, tanha. And this aspect of clinging is like the result of craving. When craving is unchecked, when it's not seen for the source of suffering it is, then the mind will incline to growing that craving. And when we grow craving, we experience grasping, we experience upadana. And through the grasping, the result of it is more becoming, more birth, more death, more suffering, more samsara. And so clinging, this quality, craving, grasping, this quality is something we need to investigate deeply, friends. The Buddha gave us many teachings to investigate clinging. He said there are four kinds of clinging, four kinds of grasping that we will experience. And he gave most importance to the first of these, which is kama-padana, of craving for sense. This is really the root of all clinging for, and it is the last aspect of grasping to disappear, to be overcome, to be seen through, or it's possible to become fully liberated from suffering. Actually, though, this aspect of our predicament was well known and is well known to, many spiritual practitioners of all different traditions. The Christians know this well. Muslims know this well. At the time of the Buddha, there were so many spiritual teachers who knew this very well and were teaching their disciples. You must aim, you must try, you must work towards, train towards letting go of sense desire. So this is something that is widely understood, and we appreciate this when we investigate all the religious traditions. What is it about sense desire, the sense realm, the delight, pleasures of the sense realm, all the comforts of being treats of the sense realm? What is it about all of that that is so, in a way, dangerous for us? What is so harmful about that? And we need to really investigate this for ourselves to see what is the danger, what is the problem with enjoying life, enjoying these bodies, enjoying good food, enjoying sexual activity, enjoying all the movements of the heart, desiring, lusting after, delighting in this world. And as the Buddha we know very well, many times the Buddha would say, yes, but look at the problem that none of these delights last. We cannot, hold on to pleasure. And the other side of pleasure, the loss of pleasure, the end of pleasure is pain for us. And so when we incline towards sense delight, is put ourselves on the roller coaster of pleasure and pain, because every up has a down. Yeah. There with every delight, with every enjoyable experience, there is the seed of suffering, which is its demise, that it changes, that it cannot last. And so there is the danger. There are many other dangers also to consider, because it's not easy for us, is it, to let go inclination to enjoy. But let's remember how Buddha said that it is through desire for sense pleasure all the strife and turmoil in the world comes to be. Why are people fighting? Why are people bombing each other? Why are people committing genocide? It's in order to get something, you know. It'll be to get their land, to get their wealth, to get, take, steal, from others, so that we can have more pleasures ourselves. It's as stark and as brutal as that. And all the stories that can come about to excuse and to explain and to, in a way, cover over or to, in some way, uh, find reasons for destruction and killing and war and genocide to be okay. All of these excuses and reasons really fall into the next category of clinging, which is the clinging to views. And so, let's be very, very cautious, very wary of this natural experience of enjoyment of sense pleasures that we have. And let's remember how dangerous it can be to become acquainted, to become conditioned around, to become used to degrees of comfort and well-being. Because friends, when those things are taken away from us, we can become very hostile. We can become very aggressive, become very disturbed, and it can be difficult for people to maintain their virtue. So therefore, we can remember the Buddha's many teachings on renunciation, recognize that to let go of pleasure, to step back from indulgence in sense pleasures is to really strengthen ourselves, is to really give ourselves a great gift free from the dependence upon any particular conditions. This is where monastic life is extremely helpful because we can let go of choosing, what we eat, where we go, money to spend. We don't have possessions apart from the most basic requirements of clothing, a meal a day, medicines when sick, and some kind of shelter for the night. And this is enormously helpful. We can all consider how to simplify our lives so that we have this opportunity to strengthen ourselves, to be free from the fear of losing the comforts that we are acquiring or become used to, you know. So sense desire in every tradition is considered a problem for us, and the things that are of this world are here in a way ensnare us, to tempt us, to lead us astray. And this is not to become, sour and negative about the world. The beauty and the incredible diversity of this world is just to recognize that this is not the way to happiness, to make this our refuge, climb towards this world, all its pleasures and pains. This is not going to liberate us from suffering. So to speak a little bit about the second of the 4 types of clinging that the Buddha described for us, is this clinging to views, to our thoughts, basically, to our views and opinions and understanding of the way things are. This is not to be clung to. It's not to give up on all views and refuse to have a view about anything at all, friends. That would be foolish. Actually, of course, as you know, one of the path factors, the Eightfold Noble Path, is right view. So there is the view that is right that we want to cultivate. And what is that right view that we want to cultivate? The only view worth having or cultivating or investigating, giving stability to is the right view, which is understanding the Four Noble Truths, which is exactly what we're talking about today. To understand suffering, the cause of suffering, desire, clinging, grasping, craving, and the end of suffering, the letting go, and the Eightfold Path, which is the way that leads us to the end of suffering through following the various path aspects. So this is right view, so this is a view, you could say, but it is the only view that we want to give energy to. So all other views and opinions, ideas about things are to be questioned, to be held lightly, to be let go on. We have the very natural inclination to want to understand the world around us. We want to make sense of it. We're going to be formulating views all the time on this level of making sense of the world. We can get into more information around this when we look at like politics, ideas about how to organize ourselves in community, ideas about subtle and refined aspects of right and wrong, good and bad, philosophy. There's so much higher thinking that happens in our human realm, so many different ways which we can divide and dissect reality, try to formulate an understanding of it. And this is all to be respected, to appreciated, but in the end, let's remember, um, that holding to any kind of view about anything whatsoever is a source of suffering for us, most particularly if that view is challenged. And we can see how it is when we have a view of any kind. If it's challenged, how does that feel? I don't know about you, but I notice myself. I've had experiences in groups, meetings where I will express some sort of opinion, and it's not even particularly strong. Ah, you know, something happens when our views are challenged, even if they're lightly held. When they're challenged, they can actually start to firm up, and we can find ourselves arguing some view that we didn't even care much about until we were challenged on it. And then we can start to rigidify and clash and argue and dispute. And so this also, friends, is a source of great danger for us, even to the extent where we can fight, we can clash with others through it- holding to, grasping of views. So Ditupadana, this attachment to views, is something to investigate. And let's remember, whatever we think about anything is never quite going to meet reality because the mind cannot. It's too limited to have a bigger picture, you know. So can we question? Can we bring in an element of doubt, of skepticism around our thoughts, our cherished beliefs, our views? Can we consider the possibility that they may not be the whole picture? Of course, they feel right. Of course, they feel like they are the correct way of seeing things because otherwise we would choose to see things in a different way. But can we hold that lightly? Can we abstain from, refrain from arguing with others who have a different way of seeing things? Can we avoid making others wrong, bad, stupid, immoral, just because they don't have the same views that we have? Can we this softness around our views that gives us the ability then to listen to others, to take in their views and really consider them and give respect to the possibility that they may even be right. Who knows? There's a famous story that probably many of you know of Ajahn Chah, at the time of Ajahn Chah in his monastery when he was the abbot there, and a Christian woman used to come and visit quite often, and she wanted to convert the monks to Christianity because they needed to know that Jesus Christ was the Saviour. Without believing in him or that, idea, they would surely go to hell. And so she had this sense of mission, and she was visiting the monastery frequently. And the monks complained to her, this woman keeps coming along, hassling us, and isn't at all interested in the Buddha Dhamma. She just wants to speak about her own views and opinions and wants us to believe the same way as she does. And Ajahn Chah famously said to them, well, she's welcome, and after all, she might be right. That is a great teaching for us, isn't it, friends? From a great master. Two more kinds of upadana, of grasping. The third kind of grasping is the grasping towards rites and rituals, sometimes translated that way, sila pat upadana, sila bata. Sila means virtue or, yep, precepts. Bata is the means how to enact. And, every spiritual tradition has, uh, uses, uh, makes use of rites and rituals. We do in Buddhism, of course. You've all heard the chanting, we all chant, we all recite reflections at the mealtime, we all have the beautiful ritual of bowing to the Buddha Rupa when we enter a room, particularly a shrine room, sala, where we have a Buddha image. We offer flowers and incense to the Buddha image, to the shrine, to the altar, um, prostrate, pay homage to the Buddha by bowing, and so forth. In all traditions, we'll see that there are these kind of rituals, and it's so beautiful to watch actually. Like in Islam, when people come together times a day to worship, uh, full body prostrations. In the Tibetan tradition, full body prostrations. I remember going around Mount Kailash in Tibet as a pilgrim, and how very moving it was, how very to see Tibetan lay people and monastics making pilgrimage around this huge mountain, 4 days walking or 3 days walking around a very high altitude, so you've got very, um, difficult pilgrimage to make on foot. But the Tibetan practitioners would prostrate every few steps, 3 steps forward and a full body prostration, isn't it? I'm sure many of you have seen this. And then they'll get up, dust themselves down, take 3 steps forward, and another full body prostration. So every inch of the way, they've prostrated the whole body. And it takes days, of course, to do the pilgrimage in this way. How impressive, how amazing. Now, to say that rites and rituals are meaningless, deluded, insignificant, would be to miss the point. These rites and rituals have a place. They can be skillful means for us, but uh, the balance is not to hold to them, not to grasp in a way of kind of magical thinking, where we uh, fall into the kind of misunderstanding where we think that the performing of these kind of rituals is actually going to liberate the heart from suffering. Of course, this is not the case. It cannot be so. And yet, we can make use of rites and rituals, holding them lightly, friends, knowing that they are just that. They're not going to do the work for us, but they can be a way in which we can kind of open our hearts to the practice, or that we can come together. And when we come together in a group and we all bow to the Buddha, isn't that a feeling of shared path, of mutual devotion to the Lord Buddha, of uplift, of support, Sangha support. So these ways of practicing, bringing in ritual, bringing in rites, using them perhaps on a daily basis. And we see this also in so many spiritual traditions, and we can appreciate the benefit of that, but not to grasp. The Buddha was pointing to the fact that people can get into the rites and rituals to such an extent that they can take over. And all the wisdom aspects of path, all the insightfulness can be left behind. And we find ourselves just doing the same old rituals out of habit, having lost the sense of profound meaning, having lost the sense of What is the significance of this bathing in the Ganges that I'm doing 3 times a day? What is the significance of chanting? We can be chanting without even paying attention to what we're chanting, to what the meaning of the chanting is. And to do this is to fall into Sila Upadana, you know, creatures of habit, aren't we, friends? We will tend to repeat the same old things day after day. This is what we this is how we're programmed. This is how we're conditioned. We find great comfort in following habits and patterns and routines. Look at children, look at older people, how much they relax into routines because you kind of know what you're going to be doing next. Uh, A follows B follows C, or the other way around. And it's the same in monasteries. We have routines through the day, through the weeks. Let's not allow ourselves, just because we come to the monastery every weekend, we do this and then we do that and then we do this. Let's not ease into some sort of mindless enjoyment of the ritual. Let's remember the purpose behind what we're doing, why we're doing it. So Sila Upadana is the third kind of grasping that we towards, not aware. And the fourth, friends, is Attavadupadana. Attavada is the view, the idea of self. This aspect is, has its coarser, I could say its coarser and its refined aspects. The coarse aspect of self-view is something that we can see through without, you could say, too much difficulty. It is possible. A stream enterer has let go of this fetter of self-view. The stream enterer has also let go of the fetter of views and the fetter of attachment to rites and rituals. The stream enterer is only left to deal with the grasping of sense desire. So the three aspects of grasping, these three upadanas of views and opinions, of rites and rituals, attachment, and attachment to this sense of self, these through without as much difficulty. But there are very subtle aspects of self-view which linger and permeate the ignorant mind right until the moment of enlightenment. But on this level of self-view, we can explore and investigate and see where there may be some grasping here. So this fourth aspect of grasp, sense of somebody here. Buddha said there are actually 20 different ways in which we create a sense of self. Very simply, we have these 5 khandhas that explained, what is a human being? What are we made of? What is this existence? It's made of these 5 these 5 khandhas. As many of you know, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. So ways that the world is experienced here. And 5 different ways, 20 different kinds of self-making, I-making, my-making. You multiply the 5 khandhas by 4 different ways in which we make ourselves. We see ourselves as that. I am body, I am feelings, I am this consciousness. Or we see the khandhas as possessions. This is my body, this is my mind, this is my feeling. we see ourselves as within the khandhas. Somehow this self that I am is contained within my perceptions, within my moods, within my body. Or we see the khandhas as within the self. So there is this self and the body is within that. There's an overarching self here and perceptions are within that. Consciousness is within itself. And so the self in this case is something like a broader, vaster sense of self, however grand it may be, however refined it may be. We have these 4 ways then of placing ourself, making ourself around the 5 khandhas. We're either possessing them, we're either actually them, or we're in them, or they are in us. So I hope that makes sense. It's a kind of a matrix. So you take the 5 aspects of 5 khandhas, multiply by these 4 ways of creating sound. And so there we are. The Buddha was so brilliant at kind of covering the entirety of the teachings. There are just these 20 ways that we get to create the sense of self. And the importance, of course, of this investigation, which we can be doing, friends, on an ongoing basis, looking at wherever, whenever, however we get a sense of somebody here. The purpose of all of this is to recognize that there is no self and that this is a fabrication, that every time we do this, we are creating something out of nothing. So this grasping that happens is the grasping after that which does not exist. This creation of self. How much suffering is there? We're chasing after an illusion. We're attaching ourselves and holding tightly to something that doesn't even exist. So it really behooves us to investigate this atawada in all its forms, the ways in which we become somebody, and to let go whenever we appreciate this is happening, whenever we find ourselves suffering, friends, we can see that in every case, there will be some sense of somebody who's suffering, because without that somebody to suffer, there cannot be suffering. So let's remember that and investigate. Investigate the grasping, investigate the sense of self. So these 4 aspects of grasping, grasping sense desires, grasping to views and opinions, holding tightly to rites and rituals, and holding to a sense of self, a view of self. These are the ways in which we notice desire manifesting, and we can really uh, dive into this contemplation, investigation, and in doing so, knowing what we're looking for, it gives us a chance, the possibility of letting go of these ways of suffering. So there's a very beautiful sutta I'd like to speak a little bit about, and it's in Majjhima Nikaya. It's number 143. I put it in the references to have a look at it because it's a very touching sutta, and very relevant for all of us, because in this sutta, Anathapindika, who's the great donor who gave Mark by buying it from a local ruler, prince. He bought this park and he gave it to the Sangha. And the local prince at Savatthi didn't want to let go of this park, this land. So he said to Anathapindika, "Look, I'm not selling it to you unless you cover every piece of it with gold." And Anathapindika was fortunately for him wealthy enough generous enough to agree to that. He covered this land with gold, and so it became his, and he passed it on to the Buddha and the Buddha's disciples. This is a place, Savatthi, Anatha Pindika's Park, where the Buddha spent more time than any other place during the 45 years of his ministry. And he spent many vasas at Anatha Pindika's Park from probably his sort of middle years, middle age, right up until old age. He would be there for many, many vasas. So we have many teachings of Savatthi, and we can go there today, and the park is still there. And you can see the size of it, the extent of it. There are ruins of the Buddha's actual kuti and his walking path, which has been turned into a monument. This is a most amazing place, inspiring place to visit. So anyway, this wonderful lay devotee, follower, and disciple of the Buddha, he in this sutta, advice to another Pindika, it's called Majjhima 143, Anatta Pindika Vada Sutta. He's actually very sick, and in fact, he's dying. He has a terminal illness, he's in a lot of pain. He can't get up, and he asks a friend or servant to go and please call the monks to come and see him. And Sariputta visits him. I think it's Sariputta and Ananda. Just having a look to see. Yeah, actually, the Buddha's at Savatthi at that time, and so Sariputta. And so when the call comes from Anatha Pindika, visit, the Buddha sends Sariputta to visit him. And Sariputta gave him this most beautiful teaching. Please read. He's basically going through all the aspects of our experience, friends, and saying to Anatha Pindika, see the clinging here, let go of it. This is not worth clinging to. So he goes through all the six senses and their objects. So seeing sights, hearing sounds, smelling, taste, touch, and also thinking. Don't grasp any of these experiences. Don't grasp the consciousness that arises as a result of these experiences. Don't grasp the elements. Don't grasp the khandhas that I've just been speaking about. Feeling, body, perception, thoughts, or consciousness itself. He goes through Sariputta, all of these aspects of experience, and he then comes to saying to Anathapindika, don't hold on to any refined states of consciousness that you may experience through your meditation practice. He speaks of the jhana, not to hold to any of these, even the most blissful, refined, peaceful, equanimous states. Don't grasp at anything in this world. And he ends up by saying, not to grasp whatever is seen, whatever is heard, thought, whatever's known, not to grasp any attainments, anything that you would seek, any sense you may have of what is worth inclining towards. Nothing that's explored by the mind is to be grasped at. Consciousness itself, do not have that as your support, Sariputta says to Anathapindika. Do not grasp it, let it go, consciousness go. And at this point, sort of culmination of this teaching to Anathapindika on his deathbed, he burst into tears. And Sariputta assumed perhaps that he's suffering so much, he can't bear the pain. And he says, are you okay? Are you fading? Are you all right, household? Sorry. And Anathapindika says, and actually, excuse me, he's speaking to Ananda here. I think they both, Sariputta and Ananda, go to visit him. At this point, he says, No, I'm not fainting, not feigning. I'm crying because for so long I've followed the Buddha and the esteemed mendicants, but I have never heard such a Dharma talk as this. And the response here from Sariputta is, well, such a talk as this encouragement to not grasp at anything whatsoever that we experience. Such a teaching as this, Sariputta said, it doesn't strike when teaching lay people. And Anathapindika, to his credit, and we can all be grateful for this. And Anathapindika says to Sariputta, well, you let yourself teach the lay people in this way. There are those with little dust in their eyes in decline because they've not heard this teaching. There will be those who will understand this teaching. And shortly after this exchange, Anathapindika passed away and was reborn in a very suitable place for him to continue his practice. And this conversation was shared with the Buddha, and he approved of what was taught to Anathapindika. And so we have this that we can read today, 2,500 years later. Isn't that amazing? Anathapindika Vada Sutta, Majjhima 143. So this is really encapsulating all the ways in which we grasp friends and what is to be done about the necessity for us to let go of all grasping, to hold to anything whatsoever in this world, however dear to us, however dearly held, however compellingly right it may feel. Let's be willing to let go because everything has to go in order to be able to experience the extinguishment, the putting out of suffering, the end of suffering, that is nibbana. Very well. So thank you so much for your patient listening, and also for those who hung on, because it was a bit, this live stream was a little bit late starting. So I'm actually very willing to continue a little bit longer to questions that have come up, uh, because we started at. So thank you again for being here, friends. And yeah, thank you very much for the questions that came in before. Joseph. Hi, Joseph. I hope I've answered some of your questions around desire. And I think I probably have. I can't actually see the questions now, so there we are. If you have any further questions, Joseph, please feel free to jot something down in the chat. Hello, Madeline. Hi, Rebecca. Al, Jody, Ian Tong. Hi, Kit, Maria. Somebody with a Thai name. I can't read Thai, sorry. Charles Lee. Hi, Charles Lee. Um, okay. The sound is very distorted. Oh, I'm so sorry. I really hope you've been able to pick up some of this talk. There's some sort of glitch at the moment. System hoping by next week it will come right. I don't see any questions at this point. And I've got a lovely point here by Mac Kem Sang, which I'd like to share with you all. It's kind of food for thought for me, I think. Mac Sang, who says, "4 nutriments, anusaya, fueling our cravings." That is a lovely point. It's very interesting that the Buddha spoke about these 4 upadanas, these 4 expressions of desire, these 4 kind of, let's say, ways in which desire can know and create all sorts of problems for us, the 4 graspings or the 4 clingings or desires. And he also spoke about 4 nutriments. So there are these 4 fuels which keep us going. Um, they are food, body, contact for the consciousness and for feeling. And can I remember the 4th? Could be ignorance. I can't quite remember. It is a wonderful topic. Homework, everyone. Look up the 4 nutriments, and I will do the same. Maybe give it a topic to look at next week. So appreciate that, like Kem said, to bring those 4, 2 lots of 4 together. So yeah, thank you, friends, again, and apologies for any technical glitches. And I look forward to opportunity to share again with you next week. Conclude by paying homage to our teacher, the Buddha, with 3 sadhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.